And when you look at the content on your channel, and you've had, I think, just shy of 2 billion views, so that's a lot of people looking at your channel. The danger element jumps out to me. I love it. You know, I mean, I've been in motorcycle racing for the last 3 decades, so not shy of that at all. But from your personal perspective, what would you say is the moment when you've been in the most danger? I mean, have you, with the things that you've done, have you ever, feared for your life or thought, I've gone a step too far here?
There's the one that does definitely springs to mind. I don't know if you remember, I made the massive 360 swing in the back garden.
Yeah.
That in itself actually wasn't that bad. Although when I was making it, essentially it was a load of triangles with an axle. And I remember thinking, right, well, the longest bit of metal I can buy is 7.5 metres. Anything after that starts to get complicated with special orders and stuff. So, right, if the longest side of the triangle is 7.5 metres, then that's going to dictate how high it's going to be, because that's what I can get. So we made these triangles on the lawn, and a bit like, when you chuck a tent on the floor, it doesn't look very big, but then you put it up and get in it and go, oh, there's loads of room in here. So we made these triangles on the floor, and I thought, yeah, they're all right. And then we stood them up and put the axle on them. I remember looking at Rick going, oh, Christ. And that's half the height, because when you go upside down, you're double that, so that's the middle of it. And I remember, the night before we were, putting it together, I remember thinking, why are you doing this, Colin? This is not a sponsored video. No one's asking you to do this. This is all your idea. If you scrap the whole thing now, no one's going to know. But I'm like, no, that's not how Colin works. We continue. Anyway, turns out it wasn't too bad. You could hold on to it, pinch it with your knees, over you go. It's actually quite nice. So it's quite a nice experience. But then after that, I had the idea of putting the paramotor, one of the motors off the hover bike, on the end of it to try and see if it would power itself. So from standing still, would it literally go and then blow yourself round? So I set this paramotor up on the end, and it had this tiny little fuel tank on, which had a spiral kind of feed off it. Because obviously it's all right when it's upright, but as soon as it tipped upside down,
oh my God,
the motors will work because they've got what them carburetors called, they've got diaphragms in, so they'll work, like a chainsaw. You can hold it upside down and it will still run, but obviously the fuel tank still needs to be able to, the fuel tank has a bottom and a top. So anyway, we had this little fuel tank thing on, and I got on, I revved it, and sure enough it went round. But then even at tick over for this thing, it kept getting faster.
Oh my God.
And I was holding on to this thing. There was no straps or harness on it. It was just me holding on to it. And I remember the mental torture it was for me to take my thumb off the handlebar and push the kill switch. And it was getting faster and faster, and I was literally holding on so tight, and I managed to kill it, and then all of a sudden it stopped. But I remember getting off it, and I was not doing that again. Because
you get the fear, don't you?
Wow.
With something like that, as soon as your body goes into kind of a panic mode, a fear mode, I think it's all humans, because this happens to me. My body shuts down and I can hardly move. So I know what you mean. Do you know when you just got to do a small thing to stop something, but you can't get your body to move. It's terrifying, isn't it?
It was one of those moments where I'm if this goes wrong, if I get flung off this, depending on what position I get flung off, I'm either going to end up, meters and meters in the air, or get slammed into the ground really fast. But I mean, luckily enough, I stopped it. I think in those moments, you really have to try and not panic and really think about what's happening. But that's not always that easy. I mean, this is probably the difference between a normal person on a motorbike and a MotoGP rider, is even at 200 miles an hour, they will be thinking not in slow motion, but they will be able to concentrate on stuff that we would literally just be I can't concentrate on anything. The whole world is coming at me fast enough. So it was just one of those moments where you have to be Colin, think about this, and stop. But that scared me.
How exciting!
They literally actually do. They've said, I've interviewed obviously Valentino Rossi a lot over the years, and one of the things that he said to me about the faster you go, the slower everything becomes, and it's clearly a state of mind, but it's extraordinary. I mean, I've never been in that situation, but
no, I've not been.
It is exactly what you said there.
200 miles an hour on a motorbike, but it's crazy. So that that was unnerving. But then more recently, I made another wall of death, and because I wanted to try and see if I could drift on it on a drift trike. And part of this was born because I was fed up with working on the underground garage, because last year's weather, as everybody will know, was just awful. It rained just constantly at the start of the year. And I'd got to a point, I'm like, right, I want to go and build something in the barn that the weather can't ruin. And I thought, I'll build a wall of death. I've got all the tools now to build a really smooth one. Because obviously the first one being made out of pallets and junk was like riding a cattle grid. So I thought, make a smooth one. This one will be really cool. It'll be brilliant. And I thought, I'll get the drift trike on it. That'll be fantastic. Because I tried to put a drift trike on the original one like 15 years prior or something, never, and couldn't get it to work because it was too bumpy. So I started building it, and then again stood the first bit up and looked at it, and then was like, you've got to build this, Colin. You've actually got to do this, haven't you? And obviously, do you know what I mean? At 45, we don't bounce. I don't bounce like I used to. You tend to snap more. And that was a bit like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this, Colin? Like, you're getting too old for this now. If you go and come a gutter, but I managed it. So
I think the other thing that we've discovered, just jumping back to that concept of what makes an idea great, it is. You just have a habit, Colin, of bringing several ideas, sometimes just two ideas together. So the simple beauty of Wall of Death with drift trike, that's it. I'm all in. It's like you think like a clickbait. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean that's the game we're in now, because how algorithms work and how people's attention span works. You nearly have to work from the title and the thumbnail backwards.